Hello everybody, it's Claire here from Sewn by Claire, and today I want to start talking about my secret project. Now, I'm not quite sure when this video is going to be published, but I'm going to start it as a bit of a video diary to let you know how we're getting on, and also so that the recipient of the secret project can look back on this and look at all of the work that's gone into it, not just from me but from other people as well. So this is a theory, and I'm sort of starting this video out at the very beginning in order that we can then see where it goes, because I'm sure it's going to evolve as we get started. So the secret project is actually a quilt. Now, the quilt is going to be a gift for my sewing teacher in Spain, whose name is MariTere, and she was the lady who I gifted the white background pillow with the 3D felt flower on it to a little while ago. So there's a video in my channel about that, or I mentioned about it in one of the channels. I think I did a video on how to make the flower, and then I posted a video showing some pictures of when I'd gifted it. Well, MariTere is one of those just lovely giving people. She is so accepting of everybody, and regardless of their skill level, and she runs a sewing class in Benavides, which is my local postal town in southern Spain on the Costa del Sol, and she's been running that for a few years now, and it really is a centre hub for women and occasionally men who love sewing or who want a sense of community, because people often pop in just for a quick chat or show them a project or ask her to help with things. And these classes are put on by the Ayuntamiento, which is the town hall, and they offer various different classes. They do one on furniture restoration, they do some music classes, they do some flamenco classes, they do DIY classes as well, run by another lady called Fabiola, and so there are, these classes are for the residents of the postal town to engage in, and they're on some mornings, some afternoons and some evenings. So that's just the background to what's happening. So MariTere has been running the sewing class now for a few years, and she's the one who's been helping me understand all of these. This is the part of the flamenco outfit, this dress that I'm making for Clementine, and she's been teaching me how to do that. And she also helps other people just master projects, and she is traditionally she will make all the patterns as well. So in Spain they tend not to buy the printed patterns so much, whereas I've always worked with the printed pattern for any dressmaking that I'm doing. I know I'm digressing, but it's all just the background for what's happening. Anyway, I struck on this idea last year because I heard that she was retiring, and I thought it was a great idea, but unfortunately when I floated it to a few people, they didn't quite get the idea. However, one person I did speak to about it actually asked me about it again this year, because MariTere didn't end up retiring last year. She's going to retire this year in May instead. And so she asked me how I was getting on with it, and I said, well, I didn't really start it because it died a death. And she said, oh no, I thought it was a really good idea, I think we should do it. So suddenly, with today's the 1st of April, suddenly with less than 2 months in April, all of April and all of May, we've not got long really in order to get this project off the ground. So what is the project going to be? Well, it's going to be a quilt. And it's going to be based on a keepsake quilt. And the idea for this keepsake quilt is that we are going to get people to sign a piece of fabric, tell you more about that in a second, or write their name on a piece of fabric, which will then be embroidered and then incorporated into the quilt. And I quite like the idea of it being a quilt of love, because MariTere certainly spreads a lot of love wherever she goes to, and is certainly really well respected and loved by all of the students that attend her classes. And there's quite a few. There's a WhatsApp group called Costura, which is dressmaking or sewing, and there are there are 85 people in that at the time that I speak to you. So that's 85 lives that she's touched now, never mind about all the people that she's touched over the years as she's been sewing. And I don't actually know, I'm hoping to find out when she actually started, because it would be nice to incorporate that information on some of the hearts as well. Oh, give us something away then, a bit of a clue away on some of the quilt anyway. So, okay, So that's what we're doing. I mean, if I just give you an idea, so when I first came to the Costa del Sol, I saw that there were sewing classes on and thought I really need to join those. Really would be a great way to meet some local people, help with my Spanish, and just I really wanted to be part of that community. And so I went along to register for the class, but she was a little dismayed because I think I was I don't know if I was one of the first or not, but I was one of the first who didn't have any Spanish at all. I could pretty much say hola, gracias, and not a lot else at the time when I joined her early on. I've expanded my skills a little more since then. And so I think she was a little bit dismayed as to how she was actually going to teach me when I didn't actually speak any Spanish. So when I went away, because I was a bit late registering, so I had to go somewhere else in order to do another step first. So before I went back again, I actually typed out a letter to her, and I translated it across into Spanish using Google Translate, I think, which is really, really easy. If ever you have to translate anything, just use that. It's brilliant. And basically I said, you know, thank you so much for letting me join your class. I really want to be part of your community. I want to integrate into the local village, and I want to improve my Spanish and learn Spanish. I said, and I know that it can be a bit daunting wondering how you're going to teach me, but I do know how to do some things, and I listed some of the things that I could do already. And I said, but I don't know anything about pattern cutting or anything else. And I said, but if you find that it's too hard to teach me, or the time too disruptive, or taking up too much time in your class, then just let me know and I will leave. So it kind of gave her the get out clause as well, but luckily she's never used that one. So from that point on, she just really just went, oh, no, es un problema, and it's not a problem, no pasa nada, don't worry. And you know, we had a hug, and you know, I think she could just see how keen I was to be a part of her community, and thankfully from that day forward I pretty much have been. So that's the kind of heart that she's got. She just really will embrace you. And even though you know, she speaks, you know, probably 10, maybe 15% English, and I speak maybe 10-15% Spanish, but between us we can communicate just through our love of stitching. So anyway, this is the story. This is my reason for wanting to do something so special for her, because I really do feel that she's a very special lady who deserves all of the love and all of the respect and admiration that we can give her. So the quilt is going to be like this one. Let me just put a picture up here for you. And you'll see that it's the one that I'm putting up for you has got a patterned background, and then it's got fabric hearts that have been appliquéd onto it. So this type of thing. And if you look closely on the picture, and you might not be able to pick it up on the picture that I've given you because it's difficult to find one in this exact design, is that each of the hearts has got a name across it. So what's happening at the moment is that I am making these hearts, and I'm using Laurie Holt's method, where you put a sewing fusible, contradiction in terms, a sewing interfacing on the heart on the back, and that gives it a lovely neat edge. And I can see a little bit of it going a little bit sort of angular, but some of that's going to get lost when we actually then applique these hearts onto a background fabric. This is all the theory. Well, no, it's not a theory, it's the plan. It's going to happen. So I've chosen some I don't know where to start really with all of this. So anyway, so these hearts are going to go onto background fabric, and the names are going to be then where people have written in ink. The idea is that me and a group of ladies, I think there's going to be Lina and also Encana as well, I think, are going to, or Isamar, I think, I don't know how to pronounce his names correctly, so apologies if I've not quite got it right, but that's how it's spelled. Are going to help me embroider the names onto them, so that then they're fixed regardless of whether the quilt gets washed or not. And then there may be some information added onto there as well. Now, MariTere also teaches some children, so the children will write their names on as well. And I know that in some cases, I think that she's actually taught she teaches the mum and the daughters or the sons as well. So it's multi-generational, the classes that she gives and help she gives out. So this is the project. So you've seen a picture of what we're trying to do, and another picture of the hearts, how they're going to go onto the background squares. Let me show you my overall fabric. So this is the background fabric that I've got just here, just to one side. So I went to a very, very lovely fabric shop in Malaga, but it didn't go. I went online and chose some fabrics from her, and she's got a shop called Mi Casita de Patch, and she's a lovely lady there, and the speedy delivery was really, really good. So I was really impressed with that. So these 4 are all Tilda fabrics. So this is the first one, that lovely blue and pink. And MariTere's, I believe she likes blue colours. When I asked her about a cushion, then she asked for a turquoisey blue. Now I couldn't get turquoisey blue. I did look at some Cafacet fabrics first, but I couldn't find any locally that I liked as much. That's the second fabric. I'll show you how these all play together in a minute. This is the third fabric. Now, interestingly enough, this fabric actually is a Tilda one, and this is from, let me just see, these are all from the range Creating Memories, from Tilda's quilt collection. And from my order form, I know that this one is called Lulu. Now, Lulu is the name of the lady who is helping me the most with all of this, and is the one who encouraged me to actually say, yes, come on, let's do it. And she's in my sewing class, and I want to say a really big thank you to Lulu, because I really am going to enjoy doing this project. I know I'm going to love it. So that's the third one. And then it wouldn't be Spain without including some polka dots, and this is like a fawn background with like a petrol blue. The colour's not quite coming out on there quite properly. So let me just put, so these are all the background fabrics that I'm going to use. Let me hold those up for you so you can see those all together. So they all play together, I think, really nicely to give a nice background effect. And then I've been working on the hearts, and I've got some different fabrics here. I've got some squares cut out. So let me just show you the squares I've got cut out. So I've got a beige gingham. I got this one out of my stash, which is like a light grey, but it's playing nicely with the other fabrics on the background. This one here is a swirl on swirl. I don't know, tone on tone with a swirl. I'm hoping the camera will pick that up slightly. Oh yeah, there it has, just a beigey coloured floral, a mottled pink, I think it's called melange, that one is, a little tealy blue polka dot, and then this one is like a pearlised feathers. Can you see how it's got like pearly feathers? It's got a little bit of a shimmer to it, which is quite nice. So if I pop those on here and then hold this up for you, I think that's all of the ones I'm using. Let me show you how, well, they're all looking just pale at the moment. Oops, away from the light. So like that. So the hearts are going to be in these pale fabrics here, and then they're going to be appliquéd onto squares of the background here. This is the theory. So that's what I've been working on at the moment. Let me just put these back into a little pile. So I drew myself a template, and I knew that I wanted to use a 5-inch background square, because that's the same size as a charm pack, isn't it, a charm square. And so I drew myself a template, and you can see how I went from one size to another on the back there, and then perfected the shape of it. The other thing I did is I scored it down the middle and folded it in half to make sure that the template was symmetrical as well, which I thought was important. And so this is my template. It's made out of cardboard. What I did then was I got some fusible, no, non-fusible, some sewing. It's important to be sewing interfacing, and that's the one without any glue on it. And I used my template. These are 3.5-inch squares, and I drew round my heart shape onto my fabric, my interfacing there, look, to give me a shape to follow. And then what I'm doing then, let me get a different colour that you're going to be able to see. It's on the pale grey. And then what I do is I'm just cut 3.5-inch square background fabrics, and then I'm just matching them both up together like that. So they're both the same size, and I've got just a 1/4 inch seam as a minimum around the side here. Here you lose a bit, but that's just the way it is. But I found that by putting the heart on the angle like this, then on point, then it just made best use of the fabric. Because if I went the other way and went across my fabric, you can see then that I've not got my 1/4 inch on the edges there, so I'd have needed to have gone bigger on my background squares in order to get my hearts out. But by going on the point like that and putting the point straight down into the corner there, it's meant that I've had to use less fabric. And we all want to save our fabric if we can do, don't we? So I know that I do. So from here, what happens then is with the fabrics is I then sew round them with my sewing machine. Let me turn it round so you can see the stitches on the back. And now I have turned down my stitch length for this, and I've gone down to a 1.5 just so that it's a nice tight seam, because that's what we do next. And then using my pinking shears, which is the ones that cut the triangles, I'm then going round the edges of these when they are done, and I sew all the way around. I don't leave a gap. Sew all the way round, and then I'm then cutting off, being very careful not to go too far, leaving about 1/8 of an inch around from my stitches, because these hearts are very curvy, aren't they? So I'm first taking it off like that, so it's got the curved edge round and you can see the fabric through. Then using my little embroidery scissors, we just have to then cut into this centre point here, and I'm just doing a little snip up to but not through the stitches, which is just there. And I also take off some of the fabric at the bottom of the point here, so just any triangles I take off the peak of the triangle, if you like, and cut that quite close there at the end there. Okay, once you've done that, then very carefully using the scissors I make a slash in the actual heart itself, which is just here. Oh, light going in the way, so a little heart in the background felt interfacing, and then I'm going to turn it through. So basically what's happening is that by using this method, and this is a method that I follow from a lady called Laurie Holt, who's an American quilter, and she does a lot of appliqué quilts. She's got a very cottagecore, country farm girl kind of style, but this technique is really great for this because it means we don't have to either have a raw edge on the hearts, or we don't have, or it means that it won't fray with wear and use. So it should make it, I know it's a little extra step that makes it a bit more time consuming, but if we put the time into the prep now, then it should be a lot easier then when we come to the end, and obviously it'll make the quilt last a lot longer, and I'm hoping it's going to last for lots of years. So then I'm using a knitting needle, and you can either use one with a rounded edge here, or get a nice thick knitting needle. What size is this one? This one's a 6mm. And I'm just using either the point or the back of it just to go around the edges, just gently teasing out those seams so that the stitch line is right on the edge of the other heart. Don't press too hard either, because you'll either go through your fabric or through your actual interfacing, because the interfacing isn't that strong. It's not supposed to be at this stage. It's much stronger when normally it's ironed onto your fabric to stiffen it. But this one is just being used to hold in that raw edge for me. So just keep going around those. I usually go around 2 or 3 times. This one has poked out a little bit at the end. That's the first one that's done that to me. But I will look at that before I do anything with it and make sure that when I sew it on, that it's to the background square, that it's nice and neat. So that just gives you a little heart like that. And then what you do is you take them to the ironing board and then you iron them, and then they come out like this. So this morning I've made 20 of these, and I've dropped some off already into town to Lulu, and she's passing them on to Lina, because Lina is actually is in the class with MariTere this afternoon teaching the children. So she's going to get the children to choose their fabric that they like out of the selection and to write their name on, and that's going to get the ball rolling. What I'm now doing is I'm working on more of these hearts, and I'm basing it originally on 100, and I'm going to make 100 of these in order that, in the first instance, that people can write their name on it. And if we find that we need any filler squares, hearts or background squares, in order to make the quilt a little bit bigger or to make it the right shape, then I'll put some words like stitch, sew, needle, thread, scissors, that kind of thing in English, and then love and passion and teaching, all those kind of words, and I'll put those words onto some, and then I'll dot those in between in order to fill out the spaces. I've got a tickle on my face. So this is so this is how it's kind of evolving as we go along. I've also got a bit of an idea that we might do some sort of centre panel in order to, I've got a fabric here that I found which seems to match quite nicely with the Tilda fabrics that we've got here. Oops. Which is just like it's a grunge actually, it's just a porcelain grunge I think. So that seems to fit quite nicely with those. So I could always make a little panel in the middle and then applique some words on that, whether it's gracias and the years that she's worked from and to, whether it's a bigger heart, whatever. I can make that up as I go along because I've got that in reserve in order that we can carry on. So at the moment I just wanted to give you a bit of an introduction to show you the hearts that we're making, or that I'm making, because I've got the most time really at the moment. The other ladies, I need them with their language skills and their knowledge of the village in order to be able to hand the hearts out so that we can get them signed. Because we're short of time, the most time is going to be taken is going to be embroidering the names on, and the and then after that, then it's just putting the quilt together, which in theory shouldn't be too difficult, she says. So ideally, I'm looking for these to try and come back in with the within the next fortnight, in order that we can really hit the ground running with these. And I'm thinking I can just embroider these while I'm watching TV in the evening, or just sitting outside in the sunshine, or and there's other ladies who are going to help me do that as well. As I said, I think Isamar and Lina, yeah, Lina has definitely said that they can embroider too. So yeah, and then we'll play around with the background once I start to put them on. So at the moment it's just making the hearts, getting those out there, getting them written on, getting them back in time that we can then start to get them all embroidered, and then we'll start to applique them onto the background squares and then work from there. Now, because we're short of time and because making a quilt is quite a big process, the reason why I said to go ahead with it at this stage when we've got quite a short period of time is because if I can just get the flimsy done, which is the top layer of the quilt, the actual sort of like decorative part of the quilt done and put together, we can always gift that at any retirement party or presentation or anything like that, and she can open that up. And because I think she does quilting herself, so because she knows about it, she'll know that I can then take that back again and add the wadding in the background and then do the binding, and then she can take delivery of it when it's fully completed. So I'm confident that in the 2 months we can get as much of a flimsy put together as we can in order that we've got something to gift. And then from that point forward, then anything more that we do than that will be really, really good. And they're a great bunch of ladies. So do you know what? I reckon we're going to be able to do it and get things sorted. So I'm tidying up my desk as I'm talking to you. So I do think we're going to be able to get there and get things sorted. So as I say, that's where we're at. Today is really the first day. The fabric arrived yesterday, so I've jumped straight onto it today. We've dropped off the 20 hearts already to Lulu, who's passing on to Lina. And of course, it's all got to be top secret as well. So hopefully we can get to the end without MariTere knowing anything about it or what we're doing. And then we can present her with this beautiful quilt to say thank you very much for everything she's done for everybody. And everybody will have played their part in it. And that's just amazing. And I'm hoping when word gets round, we'll get some more. Because I know we've got Teresa and we've got, who else have we got? I know I spoke to Lola this morning, she's interested in helping as well, and we've just got and Miriam as well, Miriam's helping us too, so yeah, so we've got quite a nice little core already just starting off. And what I'll do is when we finished, I'll put thanks to at the end of the quilt, and I'll just keep these videos now and just do it like a diary, and then I'll put a note at the end to say thank you to everybody who's actually contributed towards putting it together. So I'm going to call it quits for today. I'm going to get on with sewing some more hearts and getting those all sorted and pressed. I've got all of my templates all drawn out already. I went through and did all of that, and now I'm just going to crack on and get quilting around these. I'll put on a audio book or some sort of podcast, so I can just switch off, get on with those, and then I'll come back to you at another time and give you an update. Take care for now. Bye.